Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Iris, and this is Madrona's Pulse Teachings, and I hope that you are doing well. It is time for our astro forecast for the week ahead. So we are talking about October 7th through October 13th, and we have two pretty big situations occurring this week, and this week is just pulling us into the Aries full moon on October 17th, and we're still coming out of our previous Libra eclipse. So we are very much still in eclipse portals. You might still really be feeling that. And this week we are working with Jupiter stationing retrograde, which is happening on October 9th, and Pluto stationing direct at that 29th degree of Capricorn, which is happening on October 11th. And that said, there is also a lot of cosmic conversation going on amidst these two major shifts. But right away, we know that we're coming into a week when there are major rhythm shifts. So, Jupiter is stationing retrograde on the 9th, and that's happening at 21 degrees of Gemini. And so we are already feeling that. You might be feeling, Gemini is our mind, it is our communication. Where you have 21 degrees of Gemini in your chart kind of shows what house that shows up in. But in general, this is absolutely a shifting, changing gears of our thought process, of our expression, how we're thinking. It might be slowing down, it might be gears grinding. We are coming into a period of Jupiter assisting us to reassess ideas, reassess plans, reassess how we've been moving forward, and potentially in some big ways, because this is Jupiter who's in Gemini. And we're already in that kind of shifting gears. And again, that's happening on the 9th. And then the other major shift is happening right after that on October 11th. We have Pluto stationing direct. And so we are also already feeling that. The Pluto stationing direct is a much deeper soul energy. I just uploaded a video on that a couple days ago, but that is a major shift, one that is absolutely playing out in the individual and the collective realms. So let's move through the week, and we'll put this in context a little bit, because as I said, there's also a lot of cosmic conversations and aspects going on that's accompanying these major shifts. And I don't know if you can hear that, but there is this cat that has taken to visiting me here in Toronto. Some of you met him in my last video, Romeo. He is a very vocal cat, so I expect that we will be interrupted / graced with his presence and or purrs and meows as we go through this. So we start the week off on the 7th, and we here have Mercury conjunct Juno in Libra, and that's at 20 degrees, okay? So that right there is trine that Jupiter, and it's opposite our Chiron, who is at 21 degrees of Aries. And so we start the week off, Jupiter is in a conversation with Chiron, and it's in a sextile, and they're both talking to this Mercury who is conjunct Juno. And Juno has been talking throughout our Libra season to different planets. Juno is where we commit with integrity. She has been part of the release that all of us have been working on in Libra, that this eclipse has been supporting us, insisting potentially that we are kind of shedding some of those habits that don't support us in one-on-one realms and one-on-one relationships. Also really working, especially with Juno, on our integrity with ourself, valuing ourself in our relationship with ourself, and then moving out from there into relationship with others. But the Mercury conjunct her, we also, especially now that Mercury is moving forward, especially now that we're coming out of that Libra eclipse, which Mercury was talking with, we might be able to get some insights. That said, that Mercury also rules that Jupiter, who's in Gemini, stationing retrograde. So the fact that Mercury is conjunct Juno as this retrograde is coming about with Jupiter there is something that's very important about how we hold ourselves and how we communicate in one-on-one relationships. And it's always important, right? This is Libra. Libra wants compassion. Libra wants there to be equality and peace, but not at the expense of ourself, not at the expense of another. And so it's really, Libra is the diplomat, and a diplomat who's able to also voice my own needs in a conversation and hear the others. And so those themes, this is all old stuff because it's all we've been talking about with Libra, but Mercury's there saying this is important. And also our relationships and our one-on-one dynamics and our one-on-one worlds are important for whatever is about to come under review, because whenever a planet goes retrograde, it's a period of review with Jupiter, because it is, and it's trining, it's supporting it. So there wants to be that support of how we've been shifting and working in our one-on-one realms into this kind of major review that is potentially coming with Jupiter retrograde and Mercury and Jupiter is opposite Chiron. So there, that Chiron is retrograde, and that again, Chiron is working on kind of our sacred self, on helping us to work with our needs, our desires. Those Aries needs, that's what sometimes is missing in the Libra dynamic if we are showing up in a people-pleasing way. Aries helps us to kind of bring that forward. So there also could be something that's wanting to heal, because that conversation between Chiron and Jupiter is lasting for quite a while. There is a sextile between them as Jupiter moves from 21 to 20 degrees, and as Chiron moves back towards 20 up until December. Okay, and then Jupiter is going to kind of go further away, and Chiron is going to hang out at that 19 degrees point in Aries in December, which is going to pull up some of our Aries total solar eclipse themes. But there is this sextile, this supportive relationship between Jupiter and Chiron for the next while. And so that really is suggesting that there's something supporting us as we are reassessing our big ideas, as we are reassessing the communities that we're part of, as we're reassessing some of the plans that we've been expanding into. This doesn't mean that we just cancel things. That's not what Jupiter retrograde means. We might let some ideas go so that we can be more focused in certain areas of our life. We might have taken on a lot with that Jupiter and Gemini. That Jupiter and Gemini can take on a lot of ideas. And so the retrograde is a lovely period to say, okay, I took on a lot. I was excited about all of it, but now I really want to see where I really have the energy to work with this. And with the sextile to Chiron, it says, and the things that I really have energy for, those commitments, those ideas, those classes, whatever it is, they need to also be about supporting my own healing. They need to be about supporting myself to really come into this next stage of honoring my sacred self, of honoring my own primal fires and needs, okay? I'm already at 8 minutes and we are still on the first couple days of the week, but these are themes that are coming up this week and they're carrying us through to the end of this year, okay? We are in a very potent time. And so we will move through. Also, we start this week out still with Venus in a trine, Venus in Scorpio in a trine to our Mars in Cancer. And both our Mars and Venus are going to be big characters in the conversations that are happening throughout this week. So we start the week still with that trine. That said, Venus is going to move ahead and they're going to separate. But that is a very supportive trine, but it's also supportive so long as we are being with our emotions. We are doing deep dives into ourselves, potentially into also our intimate realms. And we are honoring our need to rest, especially with Pluto stationing direct. Pluto, when it is stationing, when it is shifting, when the rhythms are shifting, these are literal tectonic plates of psyche that are shifting as Pluto stations direct in Capricorn. We may need to rest. We may need to rest the body, the psyche, and that Mars in Cancer is really emphasizing that we need to turn that rest onto ourselves, especially as these major energies are shifting. So then we're going to move into this week, and October 10th, we're going to see the sun moving through Libra, begin to come into a square with that Mars, okay? And this square is going to last into next week. It's going to last into our Aries full moon, but it starts on the 10th and it's exact on the 12th. It's exact at 20 degrees of Libra, 20 degrees of Cancer. And so we are really, let's just take everything I just said about needing to focus on self-care and rest, and that could be coming up more. And remember, this is that Libra sun. That sun who is in the sign of one-on-one dynamics, that is wanting us to really kind of really bite into being in those one-on-one dynamics wherever they're showing up. It wants that to be a source of vital energy because it's Libra season. And yet the square to Mars says slow down. The square to Mars says if there are wires getting crossed, step back, take care of yourself, honor your own emotions, honor the person's emotions that you're engaged with. Do not try to just butt heads because it's not really going to be what's producing that Libra peace and compassion that is sought after. But it could be happening because there's that square, right? But the square doesn't need to be this really intense challenge that we love to create in astrology circles and create all this fear around. The square just says there's dynamic energy. And the challenge comes when we are trying to move too quickly and we're not actually feeling into the dynamic energy and listening to the archetypes co-create in our body and psyche. And here that Mars is asking the sun to respect what needs to be tended for in the emotional self. And that's both in our own realms, in our relationship with ourselves and with others. And again, that is going to carry through the entire week into next week. And then we come to the 11th. We come to Pluto stationing direct. And this is kind of lovely because as it happens, we have Pluto squaring Mercury and Black Moon Lilith there towards the final degrees of Libra. Okay, so firstly, Pluto stationing direct, that's the major energy. Now it's squaring a Mercury conjunct Black Moon Lilith. So there is something about this shift, and we know that this shift is much bigger than this day or this week. This is the final moment of Pluto in Capricorn. It's the beginning of the final moment, bringing us up for around the next 6 weeks to November 19th when Pluto enters Aquarius. And so this last stage of that Pluto journey comes into being squaring a Black Moon Lilith conjunct Mercury, which is just so nicely pulling up the themes of our Libra eclipse, of the Libra energy we've been working with, which is really honoring our self-worth in one-on-one dynamics, honoring our voice. Now, on the 11th, that square to Mercury, we might not even know what we want to say. We might, the Pluto shifting energy can be heavy. It could create fogginess in the head. It could create fogginess in the voice. It could create crossed wires there. And if that's happening, we want to back off, okay? If the crossed wires are coming up in our one-on-one relationships, really anytime this week, we want to back off. We want to slow down. We want to take time for ourselves because it's a lot of energy. And yet there is also potentially important insights around our self-worth that might be coming up. And so if they are coming up, it's potentially most important to honor that with yourself, to journal, to be with yourself, and then of course to share it with others in a way that you can still hold some compassionate grace in that presence, because that is Libra's realm, okay? Black Moon Lilith, even when she's in Libra, she's tempered a bit. She honors herself, and she does not want, when Lilith is forced to be silent, she is not like that. And in Libra, it can go into confusion around what we want to say, confusion around what we think. We might not know what we think. And so some of that confusion could certainly come up this week as we're moving through this square with Pluto, as we're coming into it, as we're coming out of it. But there's also opportunity to really be with ourselves and really inquire into what we're feeling. And also we just want to witness. I mean, this is Pluto stationing direct. We just want to witness. We kind of want to step out of the dramas of our life a bit and witness what's happening. Because this is, of course, a major shift, and this is for the collective and for us as individuals. If you have a placement at 29 degrees of Libra, if you have a placement at 29 degrees of Capricorn, and also Cancer and Aries, there could be a lot of insights. There could be a lot of energy. There also could be a lot of exhaustion, and just being with yourself is important this week. And then we are going to move, and on the 13th, Mercury is going to shift into Scorpio because it's at that square at the 29th degree. So we have that shift of Mercury into Scorpio. Note also, Mercury's shifting into Scorpio just a few days after Gemini stations retrograde, and Mercury is always the ruler. Okay. I'm moving too fast, and I know I just said a bunch of stuff. Let's move back. It's a couple days after Jupiter stations retrograde in Gemini, and Mercury is the ruler, and Mercury's moving into Scorpio, which is bringing depths of understanding, okay? Which is bringing up, it's lovely for that Jupiter, because maybe we were moving too quickly. Maybe we have had a lot of ideas, and there's never, like, when it goes retrograde and then we say maybe we were moving too quickly, this is not about shaming or saying, oh, I shouldn't have done that. It's recognizing that that's what the energy was with. And now it naturally pulls us back, because this is the beauty of retrogrades. Retrograde says we don't have everything figured out. We need to step back. We need to open up to cosmos and spirit, and we need to see how the co-creative shift is happening so that we can actually be moving with our soul and aligned in that way, so that we're not just moving with our mind and our ego. Retrogrades are wonderful for this shift of perspective and coming back into alignment. And now Mercury goes into Scorpio, which it'll carry us through for the next little while. And there we could maybe get some deeper insights about why maybe we need to drop a project, or why we need to shift our focus a little bit in relationship to that Gemini energy of Jupiter. And also, of course, which is always that Jupiter is talking to Chiron. So there wants to be that kind of healing lens as well. And then we're going to end the week with Venus coming into its opposition with Uranus, because it's going to be approaching the end of Scorpio. It's going to be at 25 degrees. So we're going to move it into the next week, where it's going to have that opposition with Uranus retrograde. And we're also going to end the week with the sun coming up to that 20 degree point, which is going to be trine Jupiter and opposite Chiron. Okay. So that is also really going to bring in some insight as we come to the end of the week. Insight which is going to carry us into a very powerful full moon, the full moon that kind of closes eclipse season and is setting us up with a moon that is conjunct Eris, that is square the newly stationed direct Pluto, that is also square Mars, and of course opposite the sun at 24 degrees of Libra. So that is next week. I will of course have a video that's just on the full moon, and then I'll have that also discussed in the context of the astro forecast for next week. But it's dynamic energy. We are moving, and there's almost too much to just hold on to. So of course we do our astrology, you listen to all your astrologers and all the different energy, and you take the bits that resonate with you. But in this particular juncture, it's really also just leaning into the practices that support you, leaning into whatever your meditative practices, your mindful movement, your creative practices, your being in nature. This is a lovely week, and next week for really leaning into those, the things that bring us down a notch and just help us be present, because this is ultimately a lot about intuition and feeling into how our path is aligned with all that is. And we made it through, and Romeo is up there sleeping, and so he didn't even come to say hello, but I am sending blessings from myself and hello from him. And see how quickly I integrate a cat visitor? I'm I think living with cats has been one of the few constant things that has accompanied me throughout every stage of my life. So I'm so happy to have a cat back, and naturally I'm talking about it with you. I hope you're doing well. Here we go, folks. We're in it. You're doing it, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.